Salut. Ça va? Santé.
Coucou, bienvenue from France. We're actually in Paris today. This is part of a special series I'm doing on Another Way to Live, Conversations from Paris, where I'm exploring how living here shapes the way our guests think about life, work, relationships, and what really matters. So these conversations aren't about defining a right way to live. It's just more about noticing what feels different and what that might open up for you as a listener. So I'm very excited today. I have Pamela Clapp here. She is a Belgian-American who's been living in Paris for over 14 years now. And she's an amazing writer, and she's founder of the Parisialite. It's a newsletter, Substack platform, and she really talks about insider access to the city. She's really known for kind of experiencing, I would say, Paris in a different way, like under the radar. She really talks a lot about culture, refined local experiences, and what actually feels worth doing in Paris. So I'm excited to have her as a guest today. I've been reading and following her work for a while, and I just love her perspective on life and what really matters. And I will be sure to put all of her info in the show notes so you guys can read and follow as well. So, all right, I'm excited to have you, Pamela.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
It's going to be a fun conversation. I'm looking forward to it. So tell us just a little bit about you, your intro, kind of your background. You have such an interesting story. You're born in Hawaii.
Yeah, so I was born in Hawaii to a Belgian mom and an American dad from Michigan.
Okay.
So we lived in Hawaii for the first 6 years of my life.
Okay.
I still have family there, actually.
Oh, so cool.
So I go back and visit as often as possible. It's
far.
Very far.
I was going to say it's really far from Paris.
It's very far from Paris, but it's such a lovely place.
I love Hawaii.
It just has this special, special energy.
It's so awesome. We used to go so often when we lived in San Francisco because it's only a 4-hour flight.
Yes.
And I do miss that. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll be honest. Yeah. Okay. So you lived in Hawaii?
And then when my parents got divorced, my mom decided she wanted to live back in Europe.
Okay.
So we all left Hawaii around the same time. My father settled in California, and my siblings and I went to France with my mom.
Okay.
Eventually settled in the suburbs of Paris and went to school in a regular French school, public French school.
And you had spoken French like your whole life? Or tell me a little bit about your French journey. No. Really? I just assumed
So we were raised, regular American kids in Hawaii. My mom would speak to us in French.
Okay.
So we had the ear for it.
Got it.
But to be honest, it's very different from my experience of hearing a language, but then being confronted with, first of all, other people speaking it with different accents or different ways, different vocabulary, and actually having to speak it yourself.
So you noticed that was not native to you to just naturally speak French?
No, it was quite a shock. So I'm lucky I was so young that I remember it being hard.
Wow.
But, they say that the brain is more malleable and that it actually comes more naturally the younger you are.
Yeah. You
so
probably
I'm lucky
noticed
in that sense.
Now with your own children.
Yeah. So I try to speak to my kids in English as much as possible. Yeah. So it's kind of the opposite design of what I had when I was little.
Because your husband is French, correct?
So my kids are French-American.
Right. Okay. Got it.
But they were born in Paris.
Oh,
so I did the whole, there's a birth abroad system.
I don't know about this, actually.
I don't know if this is
this is interesting. Yeah, just go quickly.
But if you're an American and your children are born abroad, you have to file like a whole request.
Okay.
So you can do it with the U.S. Embassy in Paris.
Okay.
And you have to provide proof that you are American, that you've lived in the States for a number of years after the age of 14.
Oh, wow.
I think it's to prevent people who would have an American passport but are not fully American.
Interesting.
To request citizenship for their children.
Got it.
So it is like a verification process, at least for me it was, where I had to provide like school reports and things to prove that after the age of 14, I did live in the U.S.
Okay.
And hopefully I'm truly American. Or American enough for my kids
your kids
to be American.
So your kids are dual citizens then?
Yes.
Okay. And tell us, sorry, just quickly. So you married a French man. You have 3 children now, and they're 7, 5, and 15 months. Is that right? So cute. 2 boys, and now she has a baby girl, which is awesome. Okay, sorry. So when you arrived in France, you went directly into the French public school system, correct? Okay, that's a lot.
That was quite a shock.
I bet. Tell us a little bit about that. So at that moment, you had like heard French, you understood it probably, but you weren't yet speaking, correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
So I actually started conveniently, it was first grade for me.
Okay.
My siblings were in higher up grades.
Okay, got it.
Which I
It's
think
even worse.
Yes.
Probably.
It was much harder for them.
Yeah.
But in first grade, first days were just a lot of observing and staying back a lot. And I think it really definitely, but we all have those experiences, but it definitely forges your personality.
For sure.
Forges your personality in certain ways.
Yeah.
Especially at those ages that are so important.
Yeah.
And I see it today with my kids.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, so I learned French, basically felt like I was thrown into the pool of French people and had to learn
hard.
to even start belonging at all.
Did you pick it up pretty quickly, would you say?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure
I think
you
so.
did. Yeah.
But first grade, my memory, I don't know if it's completely accurate, but in my mind, first grade, I had no friends.
Oh, that's what you, like the story you tell yourself.
Yeah. During recess, I would hang out with my brother, who was 10 years old at the time, who was super nice
so
to
sweet.
me. But yeah, I think also moving or abroad or going through experiences like that truly mean that you don't have any familiar anything left in your life really means that the siblings
become really close. Yeah.
And we used to, travel on planes alone. So we were unattended minors, UMs.
Really? At what age?
Well, from when we left Hawaii to live in France, we flew alone.
Just you and your brother?
And my sister, yeah.
And
So
your
it was
sister.
3 of us.
And you were all under the age of what?
Yeah, I was 6, my sister was 8, and my brother was 10.
Oh my goodness.
But we had, the stewardess.
Yeah, they always had the assistant.
They were so nice.
Okay.
And I think maybe back in the 90s, they were even like nicer because they had maybe more time and more.
For sure.
So it was always very nice.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
But yeah, so we were basically shipped between my dad and my mom.
Oh, right.
Like 3-4 times a year.
Wow.
Just going back and forth, and we would always be on the plane alone. So we would really have to, help each other out and be there for each other if anybody had was feeling sick or whatever, we would just really help each other out.
Are you guys still close to this day?
We're still close. Now we live my brother lives in Texas.
Okay.
And my sister lives around Paris. So
nice. Okay.
we
so
are close.
Yeah.
And then I have another sister who lives in Hawaii.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay.
And we're always texting, and
sweet.
I also help her a little bit with her business, and so
that's great.
We're all very close.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, I definitely think those kinds of experiences really
very
make you
formative,
help
for
each other out.
So okay, so you're in CP first grade, and then you stayed in the French school system, correct?
Yes.
All the way through high school. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went to the US.
Yes.
You moved to New York, is that right?
So I first went to high school in California to be with my dad.
Right. Okay.
And with my brother who went to UCI.
Okay.
And so as I was telling you earlier, so I went to high school in Manhattan Beach.
Okay.
And then finally decided that I should get my baccalaureate in France.
Okay.
Just because I didn't know if I would want to study in France after my baccalaureate, but I didn't want to close that door.
That makes sense.
And I knew that if I just went through American high school, it would be much harder for me to study in France later on.
Yes, for sure. Okay.
Whereas getting a French baccalaureate didn't mean I couldn't get into an American university.
That's so true. Okay.
So I eventually chose to come back to France, get my baccalaureate in France, which I did. And then after my baccalaureate, I moved to New York.
Okay.
Because I wasn't sure. And then all of the students around me from my high school were going to prépa. So prépa, if you're not familiar with the French system, has the reputation of being super hard. I had a friend who had gone through prépa who was a little bit older than me.
What does that mean? Like, what is prépa? Like, is it...
So it's a 2-year curriculum.
Okay.
Usually on a very specialized topic. Like it could be math, it could be chemistry, it could be in literary subjects, they also have it. It even exists for art.
Wow.
So it's called prépa art.
Oh.
And so it's a 2-year experience that this is lovely.
I know. Isn't it pretty? The church bells. I know. It tells us what time it is always.
So it's a 2-year curriculum that essentially is supposed to prepare you with a workload that is immense.
Oh, wow.
And that's how it's designed to be.
On purpose.
And it's designed to see if it's going to break you, basically.
Oh, my gosh.
So
what age are you at this point? when you do
18.
it?
17
so
or
this
18.
is kind of like, it'd be like university, intense university for 2 years. Okay, got it.
So it actually prepares you to apply for les grandes écoles. Which is the most prestigious elite schools
in France.
In the French system. So it could be HEC, it could be ESCP, etc. And it's also the best école d'ingénieur.
Okay.
So engineering schools.
Yes, okay.
That France has a reputation for having very great schools, especially for engineers.
Got it.
And
so you have
kind
to,
of
sorry,
beside the
but so you have
point.
to go through all of that to get into the...
So nowadays, especially for the area we both know best, which is like marketing and what they call business, basically.
Okay, business.
The big category of business schools. There are more and more programs that are called bachelors in France too.
Oh,
they
there
call
are
them
now. Okay,
bachelors.
got it.
So it's a 3-year program
Okay.
that you could do at HEC or at ESCP, which
Got
are
it.
the most prestigious French business schools.
So interesting.
What
Okay.
we call les Parisiennes. So the
Okay.
ones that are in Paris.
Ah, got it.
Those are the most prestigious
I'm sure, yeah.
And so nowadays there are more and more bachelor programs and more students opting for those.
Interesting.
Because of the bad reputation of the prépa. And I've even heard pretty recently that the Gen Z, I guess, does not want to go to prépa anymore. Wow. So it's actually easy to get into prépa now.
Oh my gosh, it's like completely switched.
Which used to be, you had to have a very good dossier from your high school years with great appreciations from teachers and very good grades to be able to get into prépa in the first place.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you went this route or you chose not to
I
go
chose
this route?
not to because it was very scary.
Yes, I'm sure.
My friends who had done it before me had told me all about like the negative grades that you can get.
Wow.
So everything is graded out of 20 points in France, and in prépa you could get like a 2, and then you get very bad notes from the teachers, and it's really to like strengthen give you thicker skin.
Yeah, so it's like break you down to build you up.
Yes.
Okay.
But you're also 18 and you're also at a very sensitive age.
Of course.
So there's a lot of mental health questions also
interesting
around
about
that
this.
system. But anyway, long story.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It was a very interesting sidebar. So then you moved to New York instead of doing your prépa.
Yes.
Okay. And what did you do in New York?
And so I figured, I don't know what I want to do with my life, but I'll just work and see what I like and discover kind of, the world of professional whatever.
Yeah.
So I got a job in an office, which was very entertaining.
Yes.
I don't know that I mean, you always learn things, but especially I think the most important thing I learned in that office was kind of office etiquette, what it means to be working a corporate job, and all things that now are obvious to us.
Right. But it was like
when you're
good life
18,
skills.
and my parents had never been in corporate. I have 2 parents who are like entrepreneurs, kind of free spirits.
Okay.
And so to me, like the corporate world was a huge discovery.
Wow.
So that was interesting to me.
Yeah, cool. How long did you stay in New York then?
I stayed in New York for 2 years in total.
Okay. And then you moved back
And then I moved back to Hawaii.
Oh, to Hawaii. Okay.
Because I wanted to really, find my roots and continue to figure myself out in
very
ways.
Cool.
And so I managed to, because I was also working at Starbucks, I managed to transfer and become a Starbucks employee in Hawaii on Waikiki. Okay. We were across from the beach.
Oh, and, how nice.
And it was cool because it became, whereas New York was very corporate, lawyers coming in, and, I was in Midtown. So it was very much like corporate
world.
Culture and a lot of lawyers.
Yeah, lawyers too. Okay.
And in Hawaii, it was just tourists from the mainland.
So fun. So you got to meet and see a lot of different types of people.
Yeah,
very different. And then after Hawaii, you came back to France.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
And
so that's my father passed while I was living in Hawaii.
Sorry. Yeah.
And then I decided, maybe I've had enough of this
beach
lifestyle and I should really study something.
Yeah.
and get a diploma
Okay.
and maybe even get a real job.
Yeah.
The kind of job that you can make a career out of.
Wow. So you decided to kind of go back to school. What age were you at this point?
So I was 21.
Okay.
I had just turned 21.
Yeah, nice. So you weren't that old.
No. I was just 3 years older than
anyone else who did.
in my new class.
In a lot of places, and I think less so maybe in France, but it's very normal to do like a gap year or multiple gap years. I interviewed my friend who's Swedish, and she didn't go back to university till she was like 25 because she was like, I just took a lot of gap years and then I figured it out. So it's almost like welcomed in some cultures where I feel like in the US, and maybe you can tell me about France if this is true, it's not something typical people do, I would say.
Well,
or maybe
France,
it's becoming more common. I don't know.
Yeah, so in France, there's actually a name for it.
Oh, there is a name for it.
It's called année de césure. And people will do it more, I think, in business school.
Okay.
So if they've gone through the 2 years of prépa, sometimes 3, because sometimes you would go back for a third year if you didn't get into the school that you wanted at the end of the second year.
Interesting. Okay.
And then they're in business school. They're basically usually they do it when they have like 4 years of studies already. And then they would say, well, before I'm going to go actually work and settle into a job for, the rest of my professional career. I want to travel the world. So they will go, and sometimes it's within the business school system.
Okay, got it.
So they would do like 6 months and 6 months, and they might volunteer.
Okay.
Sometimes they go, into like South America or Africa or Asia to volunteer.
Oh, nice.
And it's super interesting.
Oh, I
haven't done it, but I think it's really cool.
That's super cool.
And everyone I've spoken to who has done it, it's really shaped them.
Yeah. Oh, that's super cool.
And it's great
I don't know about that in the US. I don't hear about that very often. I don't know if that exists.
I don't think it's integrated in the system. Yeah. But one thing that's also integrated really well, I think, in the French system is the internship.
That's integrated system. into the
what they call the exactly.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, sorry. Coming back to your story, so you then were in France, like for going back to school.
Yes,
and then is that where you met your now husband?
Exactly.
Okay,
yes. In school.
In school. Okay.
So cool. I signed up for law school.
Okay.
My father was actually a lawyer from studies.
Okay.
But he practiced for a very short time, actually.
Okay.
But I figured instead of going to a prépa where I would be 3 years older than everyone else, and, I figured I'll just go to university.
Okay.
And in France, it's changing a bit. But at the time, you could just sign up for university. Oh. You just had to have, your baccalaureate.
Oh, right. Okay.
But you didn't have to have any particular, great grades, or they weren't looking into you personally as, are you going to be good at this?
Wow.
It was just okay. So
you could just get into university.
Basically.
Wow. Is that the case today?
Less.
Less so.
Because they've set up this whole thing, Parcoursup.
I don't know. No idea. Okay.
It's
time.
not relevant.
I think we need a whole episode on school systems and education because you really know a lot. Follow up round 2. Okay.
But so at the time I just signed up for law school, and that's where I met my husband.
Oh, nice.
He was also studying law.
Oh, very cool.
Neither of us are lawyers today.
Oh, really? Did you practice law for a while?
Not at all.
No. Do you have to take your LSAT? Do you know what that is?
Not in France.
Okay.
So in France, the system is a little bit different, but you do go to university, you study law, and then you have a special system afterwards if you're going to become a lawyer.
Got it.
If you're going to become a judge, is also a different
interesting. So you have to decide. Okay.
System and exam system.
Got it. Okay.
So basically, if you just go to university for law, you could apply for what they call juriste.
Okay.
So basically somebody who would work in corporate, review contracts, do anything legal, someone who works in legal.
Like an in-house counsel.
Exactly. That would be pretty much if you do the 4 or 5 years of university, basically that would be what you would be doing after that.
Gotcha.
Law school.
And so you were I don't really like this. I don't want to work in law.
I mean... I really enjoyed learning about the system.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's interesting because we also had American law.
So you kind of learn the differences in the legal system.
So super interesting as to
I bet.
How the countries are structured. We had a little bit of British as well.
Okay.
So it was really good for my, what they call in France, culture générale. Just overall knowledge on how our systems function. And even with the voting and all of that.
Yeah,
so super, super interesting. It was, however, a little bit rigid for me.
Okay,
I
yeah.
have a more
Creative,
personality.
interesting. Okay.
So after a few years in law, I did my research and found out that there's a school in Paris for fashion that offers a master's degree for the business side of fashion.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
And that you can apply for once you have 4 years of studies.
Oh, cool. So you wanted to do that.
So yes.
Yeah.
So I in my beginning of fourth year of law school, I applied to this program.
Okay.
And happily got in.
That's awesome.
So that's what I did. So I did my 4 years of law,
Yeah.
and then I did an extra year in fashion marketing at Institut Français de la Mode, which is a fashion school in Paris. And then after that is when I started working in marketing.
Nice. Okay.
In the fashion industry.
So cool.
And
you loved it.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it. It was very fun.
Yeah.
It was the golden age of e-commerce not making any money too.
Oh, back in those days, yes.
You were allowed to spend a lot of money on marketing and not be profitable.
I remember that. Yeah, it was fun for us.
It was very fun, and you could learn a bunch
Yes,
you
totally.
had great budgets. And,
fun.
And then I think the environment kind of changed.
Yeah, for sure.
To maybe around 215 or something along those lines. But yeah, that's how I learned everything I know about digital marketing.
That's so cool.
And and today I'm working freelance as a marketing strategist.
Nice. Okay, very cool. Oh, that's awesome. And it's so nice that you're completely bilingual, so you can choose what language you want to work in.
Yeah, so I've helped super interesting American clients who are in Paris.
Oh, very cool.
Who are either marketing to Americans or marketing to French people. So I can kind of switch between those things.
That's very cool.
And things I've done in my corporate jobs was develop the American customers.
Oh, that's so
and
cool.
really market to the US and French people. You know, they really liked to have somebody who
understands fully the culture. That's
and
very
not
cool.
just a French person who's like not super comfortable.
I mean, that's a very cool advantage. That's awesome. Good. Okay. I'm going to just ask you a few things about Paris, just because, you've been here now 14 years, right? So you've had 3 children here. Yes. Is there anything you've kind of like let go of since living in Paris for a while, like expectations, habits, or ways of thinking compared to kind of living in the US, for example?
I think the biggest one, and we talk about this a lot, you and I, is definitely the sense of busyness and the sense of purpose.
I love that. Yeah. So tell me about how that's changed for you.
I think living in the US, and especially New York, though in LA it's there too,
for sure.
A little bit differently, really teaches you that every hour has to have a purpose.
Yes.
That what you're doing at every time of the day needs to serve something bigger. If you're listening to a podcast,
you should be multitasking, right?
Yes. I hope you're doing your laundry right now.
Exactly.
But also, like, listen to a podcast that helps you forward your life.
Totally.
And reach your dreams.
Yes.
And don't listen to something just because it's pleasurable.
Yeah, no.
So I really it's still there in me.
For sure
still
still there for
ingrained.
me. I would definitely be folding the laundry right now listening.
I think I also got it from my American dad.
For sure, yeah.
Not just living there, but also just having, that part of my family. My brother is very much like that too.
And he lives in the US still.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So that's the biggest thing I think I've had to unlearn here.
Interesting.
Also because if you are interacting with French people, they will find you very odd.
If you're like stressed or
very busy.
Very busy. Okay.
Always, if like school drop off, you'll see other parents that you're friends or friendly with and, salut, ça va?
Oui.
And if you answer, oh, I'm so busy and I'm running here and I'm rushing to do this, they'll just be like, she's a little weird.
They would think that.
They would think like, So my husband has this way of explaining it to me, which I think is interesting, is you're actually making yourself busy because you value busyness from your culture.
Okay.
And so you're kind of creating it yourself.
Wow. That's really insightful because it's very true. I mean, think about just the concept of it is like us needing to feel like we're being productive or stay busy. Like it's actually my mom, I forgot, she always says that to me. She's like, how are you keeping busy? That's like an expression.
Yeah. But it's so ingrained.
I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So what is the French perspective? So if a mom like at school drop off, if they're like, "Salut, ça va, I'm so busy," would you be like, they would think like, do they value not overscheduling, not like purposely trying to be busy?
I think what's super interesting is that I find that French moms are also so inspiring and they do a lot of things.
So they are busy.
They work.
Yeah, for sure.
They go out with their husbands.
Yeah.
They go out and see a play.
Wow.
I don't know, they have hobbies. They do so many things.
Wow.
And they will never tell you though, like, oh, I'm so busy.
They just wouldn't think about that.
Yeah. And then, and at drop off, you'll talk about, so we just got back to school this week after spring break. And so it's about where were you on vacation?
Oh, yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah.
It was so nice. How was the weather?
Yeah.
And it's just, and people don't talk about work.
So like, do you even know what your French mom friends do at school drop? No idea. It's so interesting. Do they do they linger? Is there like a lingering, like a little chit chat before, like at school drop off, or is everyone like rushing to like get to work or whatever?
I think it depends on the day. So Monday, Tuesday, I would say not much lingering.
Okay.
Starting on Thursday, there's a little bit more lingering. Yeah, people are a little bit more relaxed.
Oh, interesting.
And I think it's interesting too because I haven't seen that this much in American culture.
I mean, sometimes you don't even have to get out of your car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
One
of
very
my
different.
French friends is actually a school teacher in San Francisco.
Oh, interesting.
So I hear all about, it's super interesting to hear about her because she's taught in France too. Anyway.
I'd love to. We should do another episode on that because the school system is a whole another topic for sure.
But yeah, no, the wind down of the week actually winds down for French people in corporate life. So Monday, Tuesday, you have a lot of meetings. You have a lot of like productive, what are we doing this week? How are we organizing the month, the budget, the blah, blah, blah. And then, Wednesday starts to be a little bit more about like personal work and like producing your own whatever you need to do. And then Thursdays and Fridays are usually a cooler pace because you would like maybe try to schedule less meetings and
you take a longer lunch maybe
sometimes.
Okay.
Obviously it all
this depends on the
they're just really busy
and things, but
and people tend to leave early on Friday afternoons. Some of them, they say even younger colleagues who don't have kids, like they will schedule a weekend away, and so they'll have their train at like 6:00 on a Friday, and so at 5 though. So on Friday morning they get to the office later with their little suitcase, like, oh, sorry, I had to pack.
Seriously, and that's accepted.
I was packing, so they'll be there at like 10, which for Paris hours is okay.
Still okay.
It's still okay.
Wow.
People start late here.
At 10.
Yeah,
but
on
then
a Friday.
You work later, right? Like
yes.
a work day would go until
definitely.
what, 6, 7?
On a regular day, it depends on the company too.
Okay, yeah.
I would say 7 from my experience.
Okay.
My husband, who works in banking, is more, well, it obviously depends on the bank,
of course.
but some of the like bigger French banks could be as early as 5.
They can leave at 5? Wow. So, and then how long is lunch? Like you always leave for lunch,
At least
right?
an hour.
At least an hour.
Yes.
Okay. And you sit down and eat a meal?
Yes.
Like with colleagues or no?
Yeah.
Or by yourself?
Typically it would be with colleagues.
Okay.
People don't really like to eat by themselves on weekdays.
Oh, it's seriously?
Yeah, it's more like you would go with people would find it weird if you went on your lunch break by yourself.
For real?
Yeah.
It's like the complete opposite in the US. Like
Yeah.
it would be so weird for me to invite someone unless I had like a scheduled lunch with like someone on my team but like I would only eat lunch alone.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's cultural.
I think so because either when I was younger and like interning or just starting out in the corporate world, we would have like a group of younger girls. We were all the same age. And, to save money, we would have our little Tupperware meal or whatever. And we would sit in the break room together.
Wow.
And like in the morning, you would say, oh, okay, so at what time are you taking your lunch break? If you're in different meetings or whatever, you would be like, oh, okay, so today we can have lunch at whatever hour. And we would, sit and eat our Tupperware. And then we would even, if we had any time left, we would go and like shop in the neighborhood together or, run a little say, oh, I have this errand to run. Do you want to come with me? And it's really like a bonding time.
That's so cool. So there's like naturally a break in the day, right? Like you're okay.
And there is a time where you will walk into the open space and like there's no one. And that's normal.
To walk into the
Like between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m.,
there shouldn't be anyone in the office.
the
correct?
open space should be empty.
Okay, because it would be weird to obviously eat at your desk.
Yeah. I mean, it's some people, I'm not going to.
No, of course,
it can happen.
It can happen, but
course.
it's not. It's not.
Or someone will say,
normal.
you would have scheduled a doctor's appointment over the regular lunch break,
Yeah.
and then you'll say, like, I grabbed something to
really
go,
quick.
and I'm going to eat at my desk because I spent, an hour at the doctor's or whatever.
So you have to explain it if you're going to eat.
Oh,
at your
yeah,
desk.
definitely. Yeah. And if you're extracting yourself from like the group lunch break,
You have to explain why.
yeah. Or you would say, like, what I would do sometimes is have a date in the neighborhood with my husband because he worked nearby.
Oh,
So we would do like a little lunch date, and then I would have to tell my work colleagues. I would
Right.
be like, oh, so, today I'm going out for lunch with my husband.
That's so interesting.
Oh, so I won't be having lunch with you guys today.
Wow. Just a completely different corporate type of culture.
Yeah.
Think about like the bonding though. You probably actually get to know these people as real people, not just work colleagues
Exactly.
that you only know them from like what
and
they're
I think
doing.
it's a really important aspect actually of like soft skills that you
for
would have
sure.
in a French setting is very much the small talk and the being pleasant toward your colleagues and asking questions, being curious.
Wow, very cool.
And there's also the whole, but that's really hard when it's not your culture. And I consider that like French culture, I know a lot from my husband, but I'm not comfortable with like the classic movies and the pop culture.
The pop culture references.
And I had a boss who was very much into like pop culture references, and he would always say, "Did you see this movie?" And I'm like, "Oh, no." And his joke would fall flat.
And then you felt uncomfortable.
Well, and I could really tell that, like, for your professional development or your career development, it's better if you have the cultural references.
Wow. Think about that in the US. Like, I don't think people would even make cultural references about film or theater or anything. That wouldn't be part of like your natural workday, right?
Yeah.
It's also interesting, I think, you would work later. So like I think in the US, there's a tendency, like especially if you have children, to like cram in as much work as you possibly can, including like not really taking lunch, to just get home so that you have time with your kids before they go to bed.
And before you start working.
And before and actually that's very true. Before you have to go back online at, 8:00 or whatever, which is very normal. Tell me about like, if you're working till 7, your kids are in school later then, or how does that work?
So depends on the families and how they organize. In public schools, you have the option to leave your kids, I think, so I'm not an expert on this, I think until 6.
Okay.
Maybe sometimes 6:30.
Yeah, okay.
So then one of the parents would be making a point to get to the school in time to pick up the kids.
And they have to explain that like to their employer, likely. Like I have to leave by this.
It depends on the job culture.
Right.
Again, like with my husband working in banking, he would not. In the banks that he works in. He would not have to do it because everyone has already gone at 5.
Got it.
A lot of them for that reason, actually.
To pick up their children.
So in some settings, it wouldn't need to be explained. My experience is more in small companies.
Yes, got it. Okay.
Where it's more expected that you stay late and not everybody is a parent.
Okay, that makes sense.
But yeah, in that case, you would probably rotate between, the parents if there are 2 parents who are available.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then one of them would do pickup, maybe half the week, and then the other one will do
Got it.
pickup.
So it's like, just coordination. Okay. And then do the kids go to bed later so that you have like time together, or not typically?
I think a little bit late.
What time do your children go to bed?
8:00.
Okay. That's similar to mine now.
The US is more like 7, right?
The US, I would say if you have babies, like you try to get them to sleep by 7.
Mm-hmm.
At least I always did. But I think now, depending on your kids' ages, like mine are more like, I'm hoping they're upstairs at 8:00,
Yeah.
Awesome. I want to come back to something you were talking about, purpose. And you recently wrote, I loved it, a great essay on purpose and how the French don't like obsess over this. Can you talk a little bit about that and what your observations have been?
Sure. So to start the essay, the little anecdote that I think
I love this story about your wedding.
Representative, yeah. And it's true. So I got married in France to my French husband. Was lucky that my American family all made the trip over.
Yeah.
And my brother made a speech, and he mentioned in the speech that I love my work.
That you loved your work.
Yes.
Like he was like, oh, Pamela, she's really into her work.
Yes.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And she's so dedicated to her work, and which I think in the States is great.
Yeah, I don't think people would think that was that bizarre in the States. Like you could say that at someone's wedding.
Because it's part of your identity.
It's part of your
and it's
identity,
just,
for sure.
Who you are.
For sure.
And so, I mean, on the spot, I had already been living here for a while. And on the spot, I thought, I hope people don't find it odd that my brother is saying that. But, whatever.
Like you were worried about the French perception of them thinking like...
But, it's your wedding, so I didn't
you were
either.
kind of like, it's my wedding day.
But then I got gently teased by my husband and by a couple of friends who were like, I didn't know you liked your work that much.
Like to mention it at your wedding. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
And so that was like the starting point of the essay of like, we have definitely very different perceptions.
Interesting.
Of our identities and the place that work has to hold in that identity.
Yeah, for sure.
And in the broader sense of purpose.
Yeah.
I had also been, I'm always listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
Podcasts.
That's so cool.
And when I was writing it, I kept hearing, how to find your purpose.
Oh, yeah.
Once you'll find your purpose, your life will make sense.
Totally.
And you just have to work really hard and find your zone of genius and blah, 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 all of that stuff. And,
so you read the books, obviously.
Yeah. And at one point I was just like, well, I don't think that's the way you find your purpose. If we even have a purpose at all, that is,
so interesting.
deserves to be.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, what do I see around me here in Paris? I just see people keeping their heads down, working, getting on with their lives.
Yeah.
And I've never heard anyone talk about purpose.
But they don't even have a word for it, right?
No.
It's like, okay.
So what I wrote in the essay is that there's this concept that's called la raison d'être.
Yes, okay.
Which would be
The
more
reason of being?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But it's a lot more philosophical. And it's more like, quelle est ma raison d'être is like a big concept around
What does that mean?
what am I here for? What am I on the planet for? And
do people talk about this? No. Okay. It'd be very bizarre if you were to talk about like, like if you told your French mom friends, I'm discovering my purpose. Like I'm working on finding my purpose. Would they be like,
yeah, they'd be like, this girl's, what is she on?
what is she on? She's busy and she's obsessed with finding her purpose.
They'd be like, oh, that American, just American people. It's just
so bizarre.
So French people, they do have like career shifts where, I've had friends start with one career and then figure that maybe that's not what they're meant to be doing. And then they will switch.
Yes.
And one of my friends raises chickens.
Wow. She was like, this is my purpose.
Yeah. And, after years doing another job, it's just like, this is what I want to do. So it does happen.
It does happen.
It doesn't mean that people are like completely inactive and not thinking about things or not finding that things can sometimes not be a match.
Yeah.
It's more, I think, in the way of doing it is less like my life depends on it.
Interesting.
I'm a whole person.
Yeah.
Whether I have a purpose and what I do outside of work is more important to my character and my personality than what I do for work, even though it occupies
most of the day, right?
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I loved what you wrote about maybe our purpose is actually just a life well lived. Like the freedom to like spend time with your kids, the freedom to like work when you need to work. Like it's maybe less, I loved what you kind of, and I'm not saying it as eloquently as you wrote it, but like the way you were able to sort of explain that, like maybe we're all like searching for something we already maybe even have, right? Or it's part of our lives and we don't need to be so consumed by this, like finding our purpose. I mean, I have been on my own journey of like, okay, I'm going to really figure out like what my purpose and passion are. And to your point, I like literally listened to so many podcasts. I've read all the books, like the Gay Hendrickson one you keep referencing about the zone of genius, like love. But I'm like, what? This isn't helpful actually at some point because I think at some point you have to just be like who you are and be comfortable and like dig deep and just figure that out, like without trying to over intellectualize it and make it this big concept. And maybe it is like our purpose is just to live and like be the best like that we want to be. Like if you want to be a great mom, you be a great mom. Like if that's where you want to spend your energy and time. But like, I don't know. I'm very curious about this now because I just assumed that was very normal, like to go on this hunt for it, right? I don't know. Do you find that like for you personally, did you like used to be, okay, I've got to figure out my purpose. And now since living here, you're kind of like, I know my purpose and I'm okay with how I live my life.
I wish it were that easy.
So you still, because you're American-ish, like you still kind of have that.
Frankly, I still, even though I wrote that essay, I still struggle with it. And I still,
interesting.
you know, and as moms, we also have this part of our identity that is deeply tied to our role
for sure.
within the family.
Yeah.
And it's also evolving constantly. And so you don't even have, even if you had found your purpose, I think when you become a mom, it shifts
for sure.
everything so much.
Yeah, for sure.
That you obviously kind of lose that sense of purpose that you might have had, and it just totally transforms. So no, I still think about it. I still on some days think like I have no idea what I'm here for. Am I helping anyone?
My gosh.
You know, how
I know.
Because for me, the sense of purpose deep down is also just being a useful part of this world or of your community, or just, you know, contributing positively, even if it's, you know, just being a light when somebody says hello and you can respond with a smile. Nothing humongous, but and obviously there are many days where I'm like, I don't know, what am I doing?
But I think everyone feels that way. I don't think you're alone. And I don't just mean like Americans feeling that way. Like I feel like I've heard that from my French friends that they don't talk about the concept of purpose, but they are like, but there's less, I would say there's less weight on it. Like they're kind of like, I'm figuring it out. And there seems to be a quiet confidence that they're going to figure it out. Like, and I get that sense a lot more from my French friends than like you or me, where we're like, I don't mean to say obsessing over it, but like I do kind of obsess over it, you know? And I think it's just a difference in the mentality. And I like to think like if we can trust ourselves enough and our intuition, like we will figure it out. But it doesn't mean there's not like mornings you wake up kind of like, all right, like what should I be like focusing on, and what, you know, how do I juggle this and this? Like, so I hear you. And that's definitely something we'll, I think, continue to
And
talk
I think it's tied to what we were talking about earlier, how your work identity is perceived in France versus how it's perceived in the US.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I think, well, one of the first things that I've discussed at length on Substack, also with people who have commented, because there are a lot of people on Substack who have dual cultures.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we've spoken a lot about this, how in the US, the first question you'll be asked when you meet someone is, what do you do?
Yeah, for sure.
And in France, most of the time, you could actually go to a party and spend an entire evening without talking about your job to anyone. That's
amazing.
And nobody will actually ask.
No.
It's more like if there's a vacation coming up or that just happened, like, what did you do? Where did you go? And it doesn't mean that people are not also judging you.
Really?
Because French people judge a lot.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I've also heard they like talk behind your back quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, it might depend.
We all do,
yeah. But definitely, like, I don't want to sell some kind of ideal world.
Course.
French people judge. They just have different,
like what they judge about criteria of what they're judging. Okay,
of what they're judging.
So what do you think they're judging?
They're judging where you go on vacation.
For real?
Yeah. I'm thinking of writing an essay about this.
You should totally write an essay about this.
But I think that the people that it would interest is quite niche, but getting into specifics about like location and what the place you're going on vacation says about you. It could even be like from one ski station to the other.
No, like in the Alps. Like if you say you're going to Courchevel or Merival, like that's
there's
got a cachet to it than if you're going to like I don't know, name a lesser known one that I probably have never heard.
Chamonix.
Chamonix. Yeah. Okay.
So there's even between Courchevel and Méribel.
Yes.
It's very different.
Well, but those, to be fair, those two are actually pretty different. If you think, I mean, you've probably been, obviously, and you can tell there's a type of person who goes to Courchevel and there's a type of person who goes to Méribel. And even though you can ski between them easily, you wouldn't, like, personally, I wouldn't want to stay in Courchevel.
Yeah, so that's what a French person will be thinking.
Oh, interesting.
Will be thinking, oh, you just said Courchevel, so you're probably show off. Maybe you're new money.
Yeah,
because French people love old money.
Oh, I can definitely see that.
And so all of those things are going through their head silently, and they'll just be like, okay.
You should really write an essay about this, because we did an episode, Isabel and I, a long time ago, about Where the French Vacation. And people were really interested.
Really?
Yes, because, and then there's exotic places, but then there was also this perception, like, of staying in France. So I'm very curious. I think you should write about it, and maybe we'll bring you back
I don't know if
that.
I can even. We'll see. Maybe I'll do it. I actually have a draft on this that I did like last summer on summer destinations, because I think there's so much to be said.
For sure.
But there's definitely a value in staying in France.
Yes, I noticed
versus
that.
international versus flying.
Yes, for sure.
But it also depends on the community.
Wow. So when you're at a dinner party and they're not judging like what you do for work, like that doesn't carry much weight, but it carries weight where you vacation.
Yeah.
Okay. But in a way of like the signal of who you are as a person, or the signal of like money, or both?
Honestly, I think a bit of both.
Okay. Interesting.
I think French people, like anyone else, are curious to know like how much money you make, how much money you have. If you own property elsewhere, because that's a huge also thing in France. Like
it's like a status thing. If you have a second property in whatever, probably where I live, Aix-en-Provence or something.
Or in the countryside.
Got it. Okay.
And so that's a huge status thing. And
what about cars? People don't care, right?
Cars, I think, is a little bit...
It's starting.
So it's... My husband says you have to have a car you don't care about.
Yeah.
And you should have a French car.
Okay, that's a very French perception, don't you think?
Because, yes, definitely. The German cars are perceived as, like, show-off.
Like an Audi.
Yeah. Okay. Or a BMW. Or a BMW. Whatever. So it's a little bit show off. Obviously, it's not as show off as if you're going to like actual luxury. Yeah, that would be like definite awful taste. Why would anyone do that? So, and it's very, nouveau riche, which is perceived negatively here most of the time. Obviously, I'm generalizing so much right now.
1,000%. No, I get it. Just a quick story. So my children go to an international bilingual school in Provence. And the nouveau riche, is that the French expression? It's very obvious, because I would say cars that they're showing up to the school parking lot. It's insane. Like, $300,000 cars. Yeah. And then like women decked out in like all Chanel, and you're like, really? Like, is this necessary? And it's so anti like the French culture, actually, that like my French friends are like laughing at those people, so I can see that vibe for sure. Yeah.
And I think there could be some of this in the States as well, depending on, the location
where you live, for sure. Oh no, there's definitely
and like the standard for what does it mean to be wealthy,
for sure. Yeah, no, 1,000%.
And the U.S. is so large, and
it's hard to. And you and I both lived in different places in the U.S., and I can definitely see the differences there. And I was shocked to kind of see it in France. When you sort of learn about the culture.
And what's super interesting, also even within Paris. Yes. There's a huge difference. So I'm on the left bank.
Okay, yeah.
I'm in the 6th, next to the Jardin du Luxembourg, which is, I would argue, might be one of the most like quietly rich areas.
For sure. And it's beautiful where you are.
And I feel very lucky.
Yes.
If you go just to the 16th, very different. Very different culture around money. You will see a lot more expensive cars, a lot more visible signs of wealth. Wow. And where I live, when you do see someone, decked out in designer clothing or probably you can tell they're not from the neighborhood.
So interesting.
So it's even within Paris, the differences are huge, and it's very interesting. And those are the things like you only notice after a long time because you really have to.
Yeah, you really have to sort of key into that. Like I notice, I mean, I always end up staying in the 11th, and it's definitely like not totally my personality, you know? I mean, I love it, but I can feel now, having been here a lot, that it's different. It's kind of like New York, like, you know, depending what neighborhood you live in, and uptown versus downtown, and, you know, Brooklyn, et cetera. So I would not be able to pick up those nuances in Paris. Like, I think you really have to know the city like you, like super well.
And really like walk the streets constantly.
Know where you are, like what arrondissement, like, very, very interesting. Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question because I know we've been chatting for a while and super interesting. Thank you. What have you learned from the French, like positively and negatively? I know your husband's French, but like, what do you kind of take away that you're like, this is super positive that I'm trying to integrate in my own life? And what are you like, I'm not going to take that away from being French?
So I think it's always around this sense of the way we approach our lives in the US. And one of the things I'm always working on, but inspired by the French, is the way they approach time.
Interesting. Okay.
There are so many like little drawers within the time topic. There's obviously the time off topic.
Oh, right.
But just like the time of day and how we were talking about earlier about busyness. And I'm always inspired because they seem to have time for everything.
Yeah, it's so true.
And I feel like in the US, our mindset is time poverty.
Yeah, for sure. Time starved, yes.
And I'm a huge believer in the words that you say, speak your truth.
It's so true. I am too.
And I think that we are so used to saying we're busy.
Yes, for sure.
We don't have time.
Yes.
We wish we could do this, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And the French people, interestingly enough, do not virtue busyness.
Yeah.
So they fit in so many things.
Yeah, it's so true.
And like it actually looks effortless.
Yeah, it totally does.
And if you, from the American perspective, look at what a French mom manages to fit in, you'll be like,
kind of
that's
shocked.
insane.
Yeah.
She'll go to drinks after work with her colleagues.
I can't even imagine.
And then go do bedtime.
It's like, what?
How?
Yeah.
And they just move through it with a lot of ease.
Yeah, for sure.
But without, which I'm starting to think is one of the very important parts of it that makes it work, is that they never say, I don't have time.
So that's not in the expression of French, or is there even a translation of like time starved or time?
I don't think so.
No. Yeah.
They will say j'ai pas le temps.
Ouais. Like I don't have.
Yeah. At work, if somebody solicits you and you're going into a meeting, then you would be like, oh, j'ai pas le temps. I don't have time right now. But overall, I notice like with my mom friends and with basically all the French people that I'm ever around, I notice that they don't really talk about not having time to do things.
It's so interesting. It's a good lesson for those of you listening that if you put that in your mind that you don't have time, or you use words like time starved, you're naturally going to start believing that, and then you're going to be rushing more, and life just feels more stressed.
Yes.
So that's a great one. I love that. And what about negative? I have one actually. Tell me if you agree with this. I feel like the French jump to the negative first.
Yes.
Which I find hard as in trying to be optimistic, still obviously American. Even expressions like c'est pas mal, which means it's not bad, is used constantly. And I've actually learned that doesn't mean, like in the US, if someone said, oh, it's not bad, you'd think it was actually pretty bad, right?
Yes.
Here, it's like kind of like, that was really good.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's just, I would say everything has a bit of like a negative, not everything, but a lot of things have a bit of a negative slant. And as you get deeper into the language, and some of the expressions, I see that more and more than in my own observations, like now 3 years into like really trying to learn the language more deeply. That's something I personally am like, I don't really like that, but that's probably me as an American. What is your thought?
I think a lot of it comes back to the educational system.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is, or it's a whole system, obviously, that you perpetuate then after as an adult.
Yeah.
But it's so much about beating down the negative in a way, kind of beating it out of you if you're not spelling correctly or if you're not, and it's just like kind of traumatizing you with those bad grades. And so even in school, like you'll do a really good job and you'll get a 12 out of 20. C'est pas mal.
It's actually good.
Yeah. You would never get a 20 out of 20, you know, versus in the US where you can get 100% on your exam or even your semester.
Yeah.
In the US, you will never get 20 out of, in France, you will never get 20 out of 20.
Nothing's ever perfect is a takeaway.
If it's really, really solid, you might get an 18.
So interesting.
But more than that, like, no, we don't, it's like the grades don't exist.
That's so interesting.
So I think it's really this cultural thing of like, perfection doesn't exist. And French people will say that a lot.
They'll say that a lot. Perfection doesn't exist.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but it's also liberating in a way, like, don't chase perfection.
Yeah. Which is actually
we do.
so true. And we totally do it in the US.
We just want things to be, and my husband actually tells me that all the time. It's never going to be perfect. Why are you trying to make it perfect? The birthday party for your son is going to be good enough. It'll be fine. It'll be super or pas mal or whatever. But don't try to make it perfect. And we're constantly like, oh yeah, but if I just do this other thing and add this or whatever, and everybody is going to think it's so perfect. But like, that's not even a goal here.
No, it's so
nobody wants.
I love that, and maybe that's why they have more time. They're not trying to make everything more perfect.
Yeah,
you know?
it could be
because that takes a lot of time.
You just do it good enough.
Yes.
And then you move on to the next thing.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. We'll end on that. Thank you everyone for listening. And I will put Pamela's information in the show notes. And thank you again, Pamela.
So much.
So nice. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you.